Marina had never seen the world through her own eyes, but she knew every current, every rock, and every hidden cave in the deep ocean waters where she lived. Born blind, the young dragon had learned to navigate using her other senses. Her scales shimmered like moonlight on water, and her long, graceful body moved through the depths with surprising elegance. Her father, Thalassos, had once been the mightiest dragon of the seven seas. His massive form could create whirlpools with a single movement of his tail, and his roar could calm the fiercest storms. But those days were long gone. For the past 3 years, Thalassos had been slowly dying, his once powerful body now covered in thick, crusty barnacles that grew larger each day. The barnacles weren't ordinary sea creatures. They were cursed growths that fed on his life force, draining his strength and making it harder for him to move. What had started as a few small shells on his back had spread across his entire body. Now they covered his wings, his legs, and even parts of his face. The weight of them made swimming difficult, and the pain never stopped. Marina spent her days caring for her father, bringing him food, and trying to make him comfortable in their underwater cave. She would gently brush against his scales, avoiding the sharp barnacles, and tell him stories about the world above the water that she had never seen, but somehow understood through the vibrations and sounds that reached their depths. "Father, you need help," Marina said one morning, her voice filled with worry. "The barnacles are spreading faster now. Yesterday there were 3 new ones on your neck." Thalassos lifted his great head slowly, the movement causing several barnacles to scrape against the cave wall. "My dear daughter, we have tried everything. The healing springs did nothing. The wise octopus couldn't help. Even the magical sea flowers failed to stop them." Marina swam in a small circle, her tail fins fluttering with anxiety. She had been thinking about this for weeks, and despite her father's protests, she knew there was only one option left. "What about the humans, father? The stories say they have knowledge we don't possess." The old dragon's laugh was bitter and weak. "Humans fear dragons, child. They have always seen us as monsters to be slayed, not creatures to be helped. Why would they aid the very being they consider their enemy?" But Marina had heard different stories whispered by the traveling dolphins and carried by the migrating whales. Stories of humans who healed sick animals, who rescued creatures from danger, who showed kindness to beings different from themselves. Not all humans were the dragon slayers from the old tales. "Some humans are different now, father. The dolphins tell stories of people who save whales, who help injured seals, who even rescue sharks. Maybe there are humans who would help a dragon too." Thalassos closed his tired eyes. The barnacles had grown so thick around his eyelids that opening them required great effort. And how would you find such humans? How would you even reach the surface without being seen by those who would harm us both? Marina had been planning this for days. "I know the secret currents that lead to the shallow waters. The night tides can carry us close to the human settlements. I've heard their boats, smelled their fires. There's a place where the water is calm and protected, where their healers might be found." The old dragon was quiet for a long time. Marina could hear his labored breathing, could feel the vibrations of his weakening heartbeat through the water. She knew he was getting worse each day, and soon even her care wouldn't be enough to keep him alive. "The risk is too great," Thalassos finally whispered. "If the humans capture you or hurt you, I could never forgive myself. You are all I have left in this world." Marina swam closer to her father, carefully avoiding the sharp barnacles as she nuzzled against his snout. "And you're all I have, father. That's why I have to try. I can't just watch you fade away when there might be help above the waves." She had made up her mind. That night, when the moon was dark and the surface waters were still, she would attempt the journey she had been planning. Marina had found a way to support her father's weight using strong kelp ropes and air-filled bladders from deep-sea creatures. It would be difficult and dangerous, but it was their only hope. "I've prepared everything," Marina told her father. "The kelp harness will help distribute your weight. The whale song pods will help us navigate in the darkness. And I've practiced the route dozens of times. Thalassos knew his daughter's determination. Even as a young dragonling, Marina had never given up on anything she set her mind to. Her blindness had never stopped her from exploring every inch of their territory, from learning to hunt the fastest fish, or from caring for injured sea creatures that wandered into their cave. "If we do this," the old dragon said slowly, "you must promise me something. If we encounter danger, if the humans prove hostile, you must flee and save yourself. Do not sacrifice your life for mine." Marina's heart ached at her father's words, but she nodded. "I promise, father. But I also believe we'll find help. There has to be kindness in their world, just as there is cruelty. We just have to find the right humans." As the day passed, Marina made her final preparations. She gathered the strongest kelp ropes she could find, tested the air bladders that would help keep her father afloat, and memorized every detail of the route to the surface. The journey would take them through dangerous waters, past territories of hostile sea creatures, and, finally, into the unknown world above. That evening, as the waters grew dark and still, Marina began the careful process of securing the harness around her father's barnacle-covered body. Each movement had to be gentle to avoid causing him pain, yet secure enough to support his massive weight during the journey ahead. "Are you ready, father?" Marina asked as she made the final adjustments to their makeshift support system. Thalassos looked at his brave daughter, this blind dragon who had never known fear, who had spent her life caring for others despite her own challenges. "With you as my guide, my dear Marina, I am ready for anything." Together, they began their slow ascent from the depths of their underwater home toward the surface world above, where humans lived and where Marina hoped to find the help that could save her father's life. The journey would test every skill Marina had learned, every ounce of courage she possessed, and every bit of faith she had in the goodness that existed in the world above the waves. The journey to the surface took longer than Marina had expected. Her father's condition made him much heavier than she had calculated, and the barnacles created drag that slowed their progress through the water. Several times they had to stop and rest, hiding in underwater caves while Thalassos caught his breath. During one of these stops, Marina heard something that made her heart race with fear. The sound of a large ship's engine echoed through the water, growing closer. She quickly guided her father deeper into the cave they were sheltering in, knowing that some human vessels carried dragon hunters who would attack on sight. "Stay very still, father," Marina whispered, her sensitive hearing tracking the movement of the boat above them. "There are nets in the water. They're fishing, but we can't be sure they won't try to capture us if they see us." They waited in the darkness for what felt like hours before the sounds faded into the distance. Marina's heart was pounding, but she tried to stay calm for her father's sake. This was exactly the kind of danger Thalassos had warned her about. When they finally resumed their journey, dawn was breaking above the surface. Marina could feel the change in the water temperature and the different way the currents moved in the shallower areas. They were getting close to human territory. "I can smell their settlements," Thalassos said weakly. "Smoke and metal and strange foods. Are you certain about this, my daughter?" Marina paused, floating in the water as she considered her father's question. The truth was, she wasn't certain about anything. She had never met a human, never seen their world, never even spoken to a creature that had successfully asked humans for help. But the alternative was watching her father die slowly, and that was something she could not accept. "I'm certain that we have to try," she replied. "Listen, father. Can you hear that?" Through the water came a sound unlike anything they had heard before. Voices, but not angry or threatening voices. These sounds were gentle, caring, mixed with splashing and what seemed like laughter. Marina carefully guided them closer to investigate. As they approached the surface, Marina used her echolocation to understand their surroundings. They were near a protected cove where the water was calm and clear. On the shore, she could sense a large building, and in the water nearby, there were humans swimming with what appeared to be injured sea animals. "It's some kind of healing place," Marina whispered in amazement. "Father, I think we found exactly what we were looking for. But getting closer would be the most dangerous part of their journey." Marina knew they would have to surface completely, revealing themselves to the humans and hoping for mercy rather than violence. Her father was too weak to flee quickly if the humans prove hostile. Dr. Sarah Chun had been working at the Marine Rescue Center for 15 years, but she had never seen anything like what emerged from the deep water that morning. She was checking on a recovering dolphin when her assistant, Marcus, grabbed her arm and pointed toward the center of the cove. "Dr. Chun, you need to see this," Marcus said, his voice filled with awe and disbelief. Rising from the water was a creature that belonged in legends, not in their rehabilitation facility. A dragon, but unlike the fearsome beast from storybooks. This dragon's scales were pale and beautiful, like captured moonlight, and her movements were graceful despite the obvious burden she carried. Behind the smaller dragon came something that made Sarah gasp. A massive dragon, clearly ancient and powerful but covered from head to tail in what appeared to be some kind of parasitic growth. The creature was obviously suffering, struggling to stay afloat, even with the support of an intricate harness system. "Nobody moves suddenly," Sarah instructed her staff, who had gathered to witness the impossible sight. "And definitely don't reach for any weapons or tools. Can't you see they're asking for help?" The smaller dragon approached slowly, and Sarah realized with shock that its eyes were clouded with blindness. This brave creature had somehow navigated the dangerous journey from the deep ocean while carrying an injured companion, all without being able to see. Marina felt the vibrations in the water change as more humans gathered near the shore. Her heart was racing, but she forced herself to remain calm. Everything depended on this moment, on whether these humans would show compassion or fear. "Please," Marina called out, her voice carrying across the water in a language that sounded like singing waves and distant thunder. "My father is dying. We need help." Sarah's training as a marine biologist had taught her to recognize distress calls from many different species, but she had never expected to hear one from a dragon. The emotion in the creature's voice was unmistakable. This was a desperate plea for help from a daughter trying to save her father. "Get the mobile platform," Sarah called to her team, "and prepare the large examination area. Whatever those growths are, they're clearly causing serious harm." Marcus hesitated. "Dr. Chun, these are dragons. Shouldn't we contact the authorities? Or the military?" Sarah looked at the two creatures in the water. The smaller dragon was gently supporting the larger one, who appeared to be losing consciousness from exhaustion. These weren't monsters from fairy tales. They were a family in crisis, no different from the whales, dolphins, and sea turtles that the center helped every day. "The only authorities I'm contacting are Dr. Williams from the university and Professor Torres from the Marine Parasitology Department," Sarah said firmly. "These creatures need medical attention, not military intervention." Marina watched as the humans brought strange, floating platforms into the water. She could sense no aggression from them, only curiosity and what felt like concern. When one of the humans, a female with a calm, steady heartbeat, spoke directly to her, Marina was amazed to find that she could understand the words. "We want to help," the human said, moving slowly through the water toward them. "My name is Sarah. I'm a doctor for sea creatures. Can you understand me?" "Yes," Marina replied, hope filling her voice for the first time in days. "I am Marina, and this is my father, Thalassos. The shells on his body are killing him. They appeared 3 years ago and keep growing larger." Sarah had seen barnacles before, but never anything like the massive, twisted growths covering the large dragon. They appeared to be some kind of parasitic organism, but unlike anything in her experience. The creature's breathing was labored, and his skin showed signs of severe irritation where the growths attached. "We're going to help you get him onto our treatment platform," Sarah explained. "It might feel strange, but it's the only way we can examine him properly." Working together, Marina and the human medical team carefully guided the lassos onto the floating platform. The old dragon was barely conscious, but he managed to lift his head long enough to see the humans working to help him. "Daughter," he whispered to Marina, "it seems you were right about their kindness." As they secured the lassos on the platform and began moving toward the medical facility, Marina swimming alongside, Sarah was already planning their treatment approach. She had contacted colleagues from around the world, sharing images and descriptions of the unusual parasites. Dr. Chun called Dr. Williams, who had arrived within hours of Sarah's emergency call. "I've never seen anything like these organisms. They appear to be a hybrid of barnacle and some kind of deep-sea fungus. The good news is that I think we can remove them." Marina listened to the humans discussing her father's condition, amazed at their knowledge and their obvious desire to help. These weren't the dragon slayers from the old stories. These were healers who saw a suffering creature and wanted to ease his pain. The treatment would be complex and dangerous, requiring careful removal of each growth while ensuring that the lassos didn't lose too much blood or suffer damage to his organs. But for the first time in years, Marina felt hope growing in her heart. "Will you stay with him during the treatment?" Sarah asked Marina. "I think having you near will help keep him calm." Marina nodded, tears of gratitude forming in her blind eyes. "Thank you," she said. "Thank you for seeing us as more than monsters." Sarah smiled, though she realized the dragon couldn't see her expression. Any creature that would risk everything to save their family is no monster. "You're both welcome here for as long as you need to stay." As the medical team prepared for the delicate operation that could save Thalassos' life, Marina remained by her father's side, finally allowing herself to believe that their desperate journey might have a happy ending after all. The operation took nearly 12 hours. Marina had never felt time pass so slowly as she waited beside her father, listening to the careful work of the human medical team. Dr. Sarah Chun and her colleagues worked with incredible precision, using tools that Marina couldn't see but could hear and smell, metal instruments, strange chemicals, and machines that hummed with electricity. "We're making good progress," Dr. Williams announced as they removed another cluster of the parasitic growths. "The barnacles haven't damaged any vital organs, but they've been draining his strength for so long that recovery will take time." Marina's sensitive hearing picked up every detail of the procedure. She could hear her father's steady breathing, the gentle splash of water being used to clean his wounds, and the quiet conversations between the doctors as they worked. Most importantly, she could hear that her father's heartbeat was growing stronger with each barnacle that was removed. Dr. Torres, the parasitology specialist, had arrived from the university with a complete research team. As they studied the removed growths, their excitement was obvious. "These organisms are completely unknown to science," she told Sarah. "They appear to be an ancient species, possibly magical in origin. We'll need to study them carefully to understand how they infected your patient." During a break in the surgery, Sarah approached Marina with food and fresh water. "Your father is doing well," she said gently. "But I have to ask, how did you manage to navigate here without being able to see? The journey from the deep ocean is incredibly dangerous." Marina lifted her head, drops of seawater falling from her pale scales. "I see with my heart and my other senses," she explained. "I can hear the shape of the ocean floor, feel the currents that show me direction, and smell the different waters that tell me where I am. My blindness taught me to experience the world differently." Sarah was amazed by Marina's abilities. During her years working with marine life, she had studied echolocation in dolphins and whales, but Marina's sensory skills went far beyond anything she had encountered. "You're remarkable," Sarah said with genuine admiration. As the hours passed, other humans began arriving at the facility. Word had somehow spread about the dragons, and Sarah was worried that not all the visitors would be as friendly as her medical team. She positioned security guards around the facility and spoke to local authorities about protecting her unusual patients. "Dr. Chun," Marcus said nervously, "there are reporters outside, and some people are saying we should turn the dragons over to the military. They think they're dangerous." Sarah looked at Marina, who was gently humming an ancient dragon lullaby to keep her father calm during the surgery. The idea that anyone could see these creatures as threats seemed absurd. "The dragons are under the protection of this facility as medical patients," she said firmly. "Anyone who wants to harm them will have to go through me first." When the operation was finally complete, Thalassos's transformation was remarkable. Without the heavy, painful barnacles covering his body, his natural scales were visible again, deep blue-green like the ocean depths, with patterns that seemed to shift like flowing water. His breathing was easier, and for the first time in years, he was able to move without pain. "My daughter," Thalassos said weakly as he regained consciousness. "I can feel my strength returning already. These humans have given me back my life." Marina pressed her head gently against her father's snout, careful not to disturb the bandages covering his healing wounds. "Rest now, father. The doctors say you need time to recover your full strength." But their challenges weren't over. As news of the dragons spread, different groups of humans began arriving with various intentions. Some were scientists who wanted to study them, others were government officials concerned about security, and a few were individuals who still believed dragons were dangerous creatures that should be destroyed. Dr. Chen found herself in the middle of a complex situation. She believed strongly that Marina and Thalassos deserved protection and medical care, but she also understood the fears and concerns of the human community. Dragons hadn't been seen in the human world for centuries, and their sudden appearance raised many questions about safety and coexistence. "We need to find a long-term solution," Sarah told Marina during one of their many conversations. "Your father will recover, but where will you go when he's healthy? The ocean depths you came from may not be safe if these parasites are still present there." Marina had been thinking about the same problem. During their stay at the facility, she had learned so much about the human world. She discovered that not all humans fear dragons. Many were fascinated by them and wanted to learn about their ancient wisdom and knowledge. Some humans even believed that dragons could help solve environmental problems in the oceans. "What if we didn't have to leave?" Marina asked Sarah one day. "What if there was a way for dragons and humans to work together?" The idea sparked something in Sarah's imagination. She had spent her career studying marine ecosystems, and she knew that the oceans faced serious threats from pollution, climate change, and overfishing. Dragons, with their deep knowledge of sea currents and marine life, could be invaluable allies in protecting the underwater world. "There's a marine research station being built in the deep waters off the coast," Sarah explained to Marina. "It's designed to study ocean health and develop conservation strategies. What if you and your father could be part of that project?" Marina's excitement was immediate. The possibility of using her abilities to help protect the ocean while building bridges between dragons and humans seemed like a perfect solution. "My father knows every current and every creature in these waters, and I've always wanted to help heal the damaged places in the sea." When Thalassos was strong enough to participate in the conversation, he was initially hesitant about staying in human territory. But as he learned more about the environmental challenges facing the oceans he loved, he began to see the wisdom in Marina's suggestion. "Perhaps it's time for old barriers to be broken down," the ancient dragon mused. "Dragons and humans once worked together in the distant past. Maybe we can do so again." The negotiations with government officials, environmental organizations, and research institutions took several weeks. There were concerns about safety, questions about dragon biology, and debates about the legal status of intelligent sea creatures. But Sarah and her team, along with Marina's patient explanations and Thalassos's impressive knowledge, gradually convinced the authorities that cooperation was possible. Dr. Torres's research into the parasitic barnacles revealed that they were indeed spreading through the deep ocean environments, threatening not only dragons, but many other large sea creatures. The removal technique developed during Thalassos' surgery could potentially save thousands of marine animals if the dragons helped locate and treat infected creatures. We're proposing a new type of research partnership, Sarah announced at a press conference attended by scientists and government officials from around the world. Marina and Thalassos will work with our marine biology teams to map ocean health, rescue infected creatures, and develop new conservation strategies. In return, they'll have protection and a permanent home in our research facility. Marina had never imagined that their desperate journey for help would lead to such an opportunity. As she listened to Sarah describe their future work, she felt a deep sense of purpose forming. Her blindness, which had once seemed like a limitation, had taught her to perceive the ocean in ways that could help both humans and sea creatures. "There's one more thing," Marina said as the formal agreements were being signed. "Other dragons exist in the deep places of the world. Some are sick like my father was, and others are simply afraid of humans. If this partnership succeeds, maybe we can convince them to seek help too." Thalassos, now fully recovered and gleaming with health, nodded his massive head. "My daughter has always seen possibilities where others see only problems. If she believes that dragons and humans can build a better future together, then I believe it too." 6 months later, Marina and her father had become integral parts of the marine research community. Marina's echolocation abilities allowed her to map underwater terrain with incredible precision, while Thalassos' knowledge of deep ocean currents helped scientists understand climate patterns they had never been able to study before. The parasite removal techniques developed during Thalassos' treatment had been used to save dozens of infected sea creatures, and 3 other dragons had cautiously approached the research station seeking help for various ailments. Each successful treatment built more trust between the species. "Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if we hadn't made that journey," Marina told Sarah as they floated together in the calm waters of the research station. Sarah smiled, watching Marina's graceful movements through the water. "I think you would have found another way to save your father. Determination like yours doesn't give up easily." Marina laughed, a sound like bells ringing underwater. "Maybe, but I'm glad we found you and your team. This partnership has given us something more valuable than just medical treatment. It's given us hope for the future." As the sun set over the ocean, painting the water in shades of gold and crimson that Marina could sense through temperature and current changes, both the blind dragon and the human scientist felt grateful for the courage it had taken to reach across the barriers between their species. Their unlikely friendship had proved that understanding and cooperation were always possible, even between the most different of creatures. The story of Marina's journey spread throughout both the human and dragon communities, inspiring others to seek connection rather than fear difference. And in the deep waters where the research station floated, a new chapter in the relationship between 2 ancient species was being written every day.